So let's talk about what we can conclude based on the rock cycle and what we modeled in class today. First of all, weathering. Where did we see weathering? Well, remember, weathering is taking something and breaking it into smaller pieces. So when we initially started and we were doing this, cutting the crayons into smaller pieces, that would be similar to what weathering is. It's taking something and breaking it into smaller pieces. Now, what are sediments? Well, sediments are these smaller pieces that then get picked up and moved around. So here's some sediment. Here's some small pieces of my crayon, and I actually picked them up and I moved them around. That's an example of sediments. And we actually had a couple of different types of sediments. We had some green in this case, had some yellow, some red, yellow, orange, and we had some green. We had little pieces of stuff that was picked up and moved around. These are my sediments. Now the compaction part, we take that and we grabbed our wooden roller and we ran it over the top. This is what we did. We were squeezing those sediments together. We were compacting them. Especially if you pushed really, really hard, we were squeezing those sediments together. This is what we meant by compaction, which is a process that is part of forming sedimentary rocks. What we have now is a sedimentary rock. We took our three sediments and we just squished them together, and now we have a solid mixture of what I started with. This would be an example of sedimentary rocks. That would have been our number one sample. Now, metamorphism. Metamorphism is when you apply heat and pressure. And what we did, we took our hot plate and we put some of the crayons on there in a little aluminum foil bucket and we heated them. But then we took them off and we rolled it with the roller. This is metamorphism. When you have heat and pressure, that is making. So number two is an example of our metamorphic rock, because metamorphism is heat and pressure, and that makes metamorphic rock. Now, magma and lava, that was when the crayons were all a liquid. Magma and lava are like liquid or melted rock. We get igneous rock when that cools. So my igneous rock is like number three. It's when that liquid heated crayons are now a solid. That's igneous rock. Now, some concept questions. What do you think the individual crayons represented? So my individual crayons were broken down into these smaller size pieces, but all the green is consistently one color green. This is all the same throughout. This yellow is all the same yellow throughout. Same thing with the orange. These are all uniform. They're all the same all the time. These are meant to indicate minerals, because we know that minerals get broken down and minerals then come together to make rocks. Now, why would the initial shavings of crayons not be considered to be a rock? So I take some minerals here, take some minerals here, and take some minerals here. And all I've got now is a pile of a bunch of different mineral pieces. This is not a rock yet because they have to be fused together. Remember, it has to be a solid mixture. So we have to mix these things and we have to stick them together in order to make a rock. And that's what we did, either by pushing on it with a roller, heating it and pushing on with a roller, or by melting it. So to answer the question, at what point in the activity was a rock formed? After we made the minerals stick together. However we did it, if it was either just by pushing on it, rolling it by compaction, or by heating it and then compacting it, or by melting it and letting it cool, that's the point when we got a rock, is when the mineral pieces are now together as one chunk. That's what a rock is. Now, do all of your members in your group have the same rock? The answer is no. Because even though you all started off with the same thing, the type of rock is greatly impacted by how it formed, whether it's sedimentary, metamorphic, or igneous. And you can tell these are not exactly the same thing, even though we started off with the same pieces. Now, of the samples, which one looked the most like the original crayons? That would be the sedimentary rock. The sedimentary rock, we can still see individual pieces of the green, the orange, and the yellow crayons. Something like sandstone, which is a rock that is made out of sand, you can still see the sand in the rock. Which one looked the least? Well, the metamorphic rock, I can still kind of see some blurred evidence of the green and the orange and the yellow crayons. They're not individual pieces of those crayons anymore, but I still see some evidence of it. Here, with the igneous, the best I've got is I see a little bit of the color of one of them. This looks least like the original sediments. Which one of the rocks is the smallest? If you pick this up, the sedimentary one, see, it almost falls apart in your hand. So it is the weakest. The metamorphic and the igneous are both a lot stronger. If we were consistent between our two samples, we would see that the igneous is generally the strongest and the sedimentary is the weakest of our rock samples. So if you have all of that information correctly written down on this paper, and I will check it for accuracy on Monday, you'll get your done stamp for having performed this lab activity.